Over the years, I've learned a lot about life. There are many interesting takes on how to live life in the last lecture, but even before I read the book, there was always enough to draw back on. So many times we take life for granted, but if we look around us, we can find plenty of reasons to live life to the fullest and use our experiences to better us for the future. One thing that stood out to me was a story about when Randy poured a soda in the backseat of his car, demonstrating that his niece and nephew meant more to him than his upholstery. This is a perfect example of how we should live life, not by placing high expectations on people, but with compassion and understanding. Of course, I'd rather my car stay clean than get drenched in soda, but I'd rather more that people don't get flustered because they accidentally made a small mess. And there's no reason to give them a cold shoulder if they do. After all, people are more important than material objects. Another thing people don't do enough is love each other. Sure, in this particular room, I don't think there's a whole lot of hate, but what about outside this room? If everyone really loved each other, then there would be no drama. Maybe it's hard to love other people. Maybe someone did you wrong and you just can't forgive them. To that, I would say, quit being stubborn and forgive them already. Whatever hate you have towards someone will stay with both of you until you make amends. Don't be afraid of what might happen, just take a chance. And it's like what Yoda says.
Fear is a path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering.
And you know what happened to Darth Vader. Watching what we say and how we act is also a good way to improve our lives because really, our lives are only as happy as the lives of the people around us. It's like that old saying, if the wife is happy, then everyone is happy. If you proceed to treat people poorly or speak negatively about others, that makes them unhappy and it will make you happy in the long run. It's also wise to watch what you say even if the particular person you're talking about isn't around. I'm talking about gossip. Sure, you might tell one person something and make them promise not to tell anyone else, but eventually that person is going to feel like they have to tell someone else, and they'll tell someone else and tell them not to tell anyone else. And pretty soon everyone at school knows that little Maitland is pregnant, and that's going to stress her out. When you gossip, you're burdening the person you talk to, and you're stressing out the person who it's about. And eventually that's going to reflect badly on you. You don't want to live your life by making everyone else miserable. Obviously, there's a whole lot more I could talk about, but this is a 3-minute video, so I'm keeping this short. Before I end, I'd like to stress one more point. Don't live like you're dying. You're probably like, but everyone always says you should live like you're dying. Well, I suggest instead that you live like you're living. People don't know what living means. Most healthy people think they'll live forever and don't get around to doing anything meaningful. And sure, when some people get a diagnosis for cancer or something, they decide to live in the moment like Randy Posh, but that isn't always the case. The healthy people take life for granted and the sick people get depressed and pity themselves. Now I have no idea what the sick people are going through, and I'm not about to judge them or anything, but I think everyone is going about it all wrong. It's like in that Tim McGraw song, Live Like You Are Dying. When he says, I loved deeper and I spoke sweeter and I gave forgiveness I'd been denying, that doesn't sound like a dying person. That sounds a lot like a person who's actually living, and we should live like that from here on for the rest of our lives.